All right, here now with analysis, former House Speaker, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, a couple of things. I look at Europe and I worry. I worry that their immigration problem, I'm not against legal immigration, but I am against people that come into any country and don't want to assimilate to the values and mores of that country. I don't like that, Great Britain, of all places, has, some 82 Sharia courts. I don't like the assault on freedom of speech. Look at what recently happened to X and Elon Musk and the issue of free speech. And people post something in Europe and they end up getting arrested and have to spend time in jail. I am very worried what's happening there. I think they are becoming more authoritarian by the day.
Well, I think you have elites who are basically under siege. In almost all these countries, you have popular discontent on a big scale. And so the governments have adopted policies of repression, which are, I think, amazing. The British have a series of laws now that are just crazy. But I think it's desperation. The French have lied for 2 generations about the impact of allowing in people who totally reject French culture and Western civilization. Well, it's not complicated. If you accept enough people who deeply hate and disagree with your culture, you're going to be in big trouble. I thought the new Trump national security paper was really important because it sent a clear signal to the Europeans, not a signal that we don't like them, but a signal that we are so worried about Europe's decay. Its decay culturally, its decay in terms of refugees, its decay economically. None of the $9 trillion companies in the world, none, come from Europe. 2 are Chinese, 7 American. And you just go down item after item. All of Europe combined could not defeat Russia without America's help. Now, they have a huge economy collectively. They have an enormous potential, but they have refused to solve their problems. I think Trump is doing them an enormous service. And J.D. Vance's early speeches, and when he went to Europe, were very much in this line to say, you have to clean up your act. America can't do it for you, and America in the long run cannot prop you up if you refuse to reform your system.
Well, the president also challenged them. He's demanded free and fair trade, and they had been taking advantage of our country. He also insisted they more than double their contribution to NATO. But I think the great danger is, famously there was the Australian prime minister that said, if you want to come to Australia, you will be an Australian or go back from where you came. Right. And I think that Europe, for whatever reason, has allowed people to go to their countries but not assimilate into their values. In other words, I don't like the idea of Sharia courts in Great Britain. It's not that I care what people's religion is, it's that it is separate and apart. It is not one united country.
Well, look, I think this is true across a very large part of Europe, and there's a growing backlash. When you go to places like Hungary or you go to Poland, you see a very large backlash. Look at France, where the largest single political movement is clearly dedicated to returning France to the French. And of course, for the elites, this is all terrible stuff. The European elites decided about a half-century ago that they would side with the third world against their own countries, and they adopted policies which are virtually guaranteed to undermine and ultimately their countries will just disappear. So I think we're in a very critical period, and I think what President Trump is doing is historically unbelievably important, and hopefully will arouse in Europe a real sense of survival and a real sense of making the reforms that are absolutely essential if they're going to get anything done.
All right, Speaker Gingrich, always good to have you. Thank you, sir. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.